The Silent Watchers. The darkness between stars held secrets that most species would never understand. In that endless void, where light took centuries to travel and silence was the only constant truth, the vessel called Echoes of Terra moved like a phantom through the cosmic deep. Captain Elena Vasquez stood at the observation window of her ship. Her reflection stared back at her from the reinforced glass. Dark eyes that had seen too much. Brown skin weathered by recycled air and artificial light. 43 years old, and she felt every single one of them pressing down on her shoulders tonight. Behind her, the bridge hummed with quiet activity. 12 crew members worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. They spoke in whispers even though no one outside could hear them. Old habits died hard when your entire existence depended on remaining invisible. "Captain," said Lieutenant James Okonkwo from the sensor station. His voice was calm but his fingers moved quickly across his console. "We have activity at the edge of the system." Elena turned away from the stars. She walked to the central display where the holographic map showed their current position. They were hidden in the shadow of a gas giant, using its massive electromagnetic field to mask their presence. "Show me," she said. The display zoomed out to show the entire star system. At its center burned a yellow sun similar to Earth's own. 3 rocky planets orbited close to that warmth while 4 gas giants held court in the outer reaches. But Elena's attention fixed on the second planet from the sun. It was a world of endless oceans. Islands dotted its surface like green jewels scattered across blue silk. The atmosphere was thick with clouds that swirled in patterns of white and gray. It was beautiful. It reminded Elena of pictures she had seen of Earth before the Great Hiding began. "The Morthani homeworld," James said. "Population approximately 3 billion based on our surveys. They achieved basic spaceflight about 60 years ago but never expanded beyond their own moon." Elena nodded. She had read the files many times. The Morthani were an aquatic species that had evolved from something similar to Earth's dolphins. They had developed technology slowly and peacefully over thousands of years. They built floating cities that rose and fell with the tides. They created art that could make grown soldiers weep with its beauty. They had never known war. "And the activity?" Elena asked. James's jaw tightened. "Hegemony Collective. A full subjugation fleet just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. I count 38 capital ships and over 200 support vessels." The words hit Elena like a physical blow. She had known this moment would come eventually. The Hegemony Collective had been expanding toward this sector for decades. They were one of the 3 major powers in the galactic community, and they followed a simple philosophy. Join or die. Serve or perish. "How long until they reach orbit around the Morthani homeworld?" she asked. "At current speed, approximately 4 hours. 4 hours. 4 hours until 3 billion peaceful beings faced the choice that so many species had faced before them. Become slaves to the hegemony or watch their world burn from orbit." Elena closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered her training. She remembered the doctrine that had governed humanity's actions in the galaxy for the past 300 years. Observe. Record. Never interfere. Never reveal. Humanity had discovered the truth about the galaxy in the year 2347. A deep space probe had intercepted communications from the 3 major galactic powers. The Hegemony Collective. The Divine Ascendancy. The Merchant Consortium. Each one controlled thousands of star systems. Each one viewed weaker species as resources to be exploited or obstacles to be removed. Earth's leaders had made a decision that changed everything. They would hide. They would develop technology in secret. They would build fleets in the darkness between stars. And they would wait until they were strong enough to face the galaxy on their own terms. 300 years later, humanity had become something that would have amazed their ancestors. They had ships that could bend light around their hulls. They had weapons that could crack planets. They had spread to 47 worlds that no galactic power knew existed. They had become ghosts in the machine of the universe. But ghosts could only watch. They could not act. "Captain," said Communications Officer Sarah Chen. Her voice trembled slightly. "I am intercepting transmissions from the Morthani surface. They are broadcasting a response to the hegemony fleet." "Let me hear it," Elena said. The speakers crackled with static. Then a voice came through. It was musical and flowing, like water over smooth stones. The ship's computer translated instantly. "Visitors from beyond our sky, we greet you with open hearts and peaceful intentions. We are the Morthani, children of the endless ocean, singers of the deep songs. We do not understand your words about submission and integration. We have no desire to fight. We wish only to share our world with those who come in friendship. Please, tell us how we may welcome you properly." Elena felt her heart break a little. The Morthani did not understand. They could not understand. They had never known violence on a galactic scale. They had no concept of what was about to happen to them. The hegemony response came moments later. The voice was harsh and cold, stripped of all emotion. "Species designation Morthani. You have been selected for integration into the hegemony collective. All resistance is futile. All negotiation is unnecessary. You will present yourselves for processing within one planetary rotation. Failure to comply will result in immediate pacification measures. This is your only warning. Pacification measures." Elena knew what those words meant. Orbital bombardment. Ground forces. Concentration camps for the useful. Extermination for the rest. "We have to do something," said Ensign David Park from the navigation station. He was the youngest member of the crew at 24 years old. His eyes were bright with anger and fear. "We cannot just sit here and watch them die." "Our orders are clear," Elena said. The words tasted like ash in her mouth. "Observe and record. Do not interfere. Do not reveal our presence." "Our orders are wrong," David replied. His voice rose higher than it should have. 3 billion people are going to die because we are too afraid to show ourselves. Stand down, Ensign. James stepped forward with a warning look. The captain knows her duty. But Elena raised her hand for silence. She looked at David Park with something that might have been respect. The young man was saying what they were all thinking. What she was thinking. "The doctrine exists for a reason," she said quietly. "If we reveal ourselves now, we draw the attention of every major power in the galaxy. Humanity has 30 billion people spread across 47 worlds. The hegemony alone has over 1 trillion soldiers. If we fight before we are ready, we risk the extinction of our entire species." "And if we never fight?" David asked. "How many more species do we watch die? How many more worlds do we let burn? When does someday finally become today?" Elena did not answer. She turned back to the display and watched the hegemony fleet continue its approach. 4 hours until orbit. 4 hours until the end of everything the Morthani had ever known. "Captain." Sarah Chen spoke again. "I am receiving another transmission from the surface. This one is different. It appears to be a local broadcast from one of the island settlements." "Show me," Elena said. The main screen flickered to life. It showed a structure made of coral and sea glass rising from the waves. Inside, dozens of young Morthani huddled together. They were small, perhaps children by their species standards. Their skin was pale blue with patterns of darker spots. Their large eyes reflected the emergency lights that pulsed around them. Standing before them was an elder Morthani. Her skin had faded to almost white with age. Her movements were slow but deliberate. She was speaking to the children in a voice that the translator rendered as soft and reassuring. "Do not be afraid, little ones. The lights in the sky are only visitors. They come from far away and they do not understand our ways. But we will teach them. We will show them the songs of the deep ocean. We will share with them the warmth of our hearts. There is always enough love in the universe for everyone. Remember this. No matter what happens, remember that kindness is stronger than fear. She began to sing. It was a lullaby, ancient and simple. The young Morthani joined in one by one. Their voices rose together in harmony that seemed to fill the entire ship with warmth and beauty. Elena watched the screen. She watched an old woman try to comfort children who did not understand that they might die tomorrow. She watched innocence and hope shine in the face of absolute darkness. Something inside her shifted. Something that had been bound by duty and doctrine for 20 years of service finally broke free. "James," she said. Her voice was steady. "What is the nearest human fleet to our position?" James looked at her with surprise in his eyes. "The 47th Shadow Fleet is holding position approximately 6 hours away at maximum speed. They have 42 combat vessels including the dreadnought Unconquered Spirit. And if we send an emergency signal?" "Captain." James stepped closer and lowered his voice. "If we send that signal, there is no going back. We will be violating direct orders from High Command. We will be revealing humanity to the hegemony. We could be starting a war that we are not prepared to fight." "I know." Elena looked at her bridge crew. 12 men and women who had trusted her with their lives. "I am not going to order any of you to follow me in this. What I am about to do could mean court-martial. It could mean prison. It could mean death for all of us. But I cannot watch another world burn while we hide in the shadows. I am done with someday." Silence fell over the bridge. The only sound was the quiet hum of the ship's systems and the faint echo of the Morthani lullaby still playing on the speakers. David Park spoke first. "I am with you, Captain." Sarah Chen nodded. "Whatever you need, I am here." One by one, every member of the bridge crew voiced their support. James Okonkwo was the last. He looked at Elena for a long moment with an expression she could not read. Then he smiled. "I have been waiting 20 years for someone to finally say what you just said. Send the signal, Captain. Let us show the galaxy what humanity really is." Elena turned to her communications officer. "Sarah, prepare an emergency broadcast on all human military frequencies. Priority Alpha. Request immediate combat support at these coordinates." "And the hegemony?" Sarah asked. Elena straightened her shoulders. She took a deep breath. "When we decloak, I want a message sent to their fleet as well. It is time they learned that the universe holds more than they ever dreamed possible. The next 4 hours would change everything. Humanity would step out of the shadows at last. And the galaxy would learn the price of arrogance. The price of arrogance. The Hegemony Collective had ruled their portion of the galaxy for 18,000 years. In all that time, they had never encountered a species they could not conquer. They had crushed rebellions on 10,000 worlds. They had exterminated species that refused to submit. They had built an empire on the bones of the weak and called it civilization. Admiral Korak stood on the command bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Dominance. He was a massive creature, nearly 3 meters tall with thick gray skin covered in ceremonial scars. His species, the Vorthani, had been among the first to join the hegemony 15,000 years ago. They had risen to become one of the ruling castes through their dedication to absolute obedience and ruthless efficiency. Today's mission was simple. Another primitive species had been discovered on an ocean world. They would be given the standard choice. Submit or die. Most chose submission. Those who did not served as examples for others. "Admiral," said his tactical officer. "We are approaching optimal orbital position. The bombardment platforms are charged and ready." Korax nodded with satisfaction. The aquatic species on the planet below had failed to respond properly to the integration demand. They had spoken of peace and friendship as if such words meant anything to the hegemony. Weak. Foolish. They would learn. Begin targeting the largest population centers, Corax ordered. We will demonstrate the cost of hesitation. Leave enough survivors for the labor camps, but make sure they understand that resistance is futile. Admiral. Another officer spoke from the sensor station. I am detecting an anomaly directly ahead of the fleet. Explain. There appears to be some kind of distortion in space approximately 50,000 kilometers from the lead vessels. I cannot identify the source. Corax felt a flicker of annoyance. Probably some natural phenomenon. This sector of space had never been properly surveyed. Still, caution was the mark of a competent commander. Send a scout vessel to investigate, he ordered. Before the order could be carried out, the distortion resolved itself. Space seemed to fold and ripple like water. Then something appeared where nothing had been before. It was a ship. Small compared to the massive hegemony vessels. Perhaps 300 meters long, with a dark gray hull and angular lines that seemed designed to deflect sensor readings. No visible weapons. No identifying markings. Nothing that appeared in any hegemony database. What is that? Corax demanded. Unknown, Admiral. The vessel does not match any recorded ship design. I am attempting to scan, but our sensors are having difficulty penetrating its hull. Before anyone could respond, a transmission crackled through the bridge speakers. The voice that spoke was female, calm, and utterly without fear. Attention, Hegemony Fleet. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Commonwealth vessel Echoes of Terra. The world you are threatening is now under human protection. You will cease all hostile operations immediately. You will withdraw your forces from this system. Failure to comply will result in consequences you are not prepared to face. Silence fell over the hegemony bridge. Then Corax began to laugh. It was a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the command center. Human. I have never heard of your species. You are clearly new to the galaxy, so I will educate you. The hegemony collective controls over 8,000 star systems. We have fleets beyond counting. We have crushed species far more powerful than whatever backwater world produced your tiny ship. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. The human captain's voice came back without hesitation. Admiral, I am going to give you one chance to reconsider your position. My species has been observing your collective for a very long time. We know exactly what you are capable of. More importantly, we know what we are capable of. This is not a threat. This is a statement of fact. Leave now or face the consequences. Corax snarled with rage. How dare this creature speak to him with such arrogance? One tiny ship against 38 capital vessels. The human was either insane or suicidal. Destroy that ship, he ordered. Show these humans what happens to species that challenge the hegemony. The tactical officer's hands moved across his console. Firing solution locked. All forward batteries are targeting the enemy vessel. Energy weapons that could crack asteroids unleashed their fury. Beams of concentrated destruction lanced across the void toward the tiny human ship. They struck nothing but empty space. What? Corax stepped forward in confusion. Where did it go? I do not know, Admiral. One moment it was there, and then it simply was not. Our sensors cannot locate it. Find it. It cannot have gone far. But before the hegemony could adjust their sensors, the human ship reappeared. It was behind them now, positioned between the fleet and open space. And it was no longer alone. Corax felt something he had not experienced in over 100 years of military service. He felt fear. 42 ships had appeared from nowhere. They ranged in size from vessels similar to the original human ship all the way up to a massive dreadnought that rivaled his own flagship in scale. All of them had the same dark hulls. All of them had the same angular designs. All of them had appeared without warning, without any faster-than-light signatures, without any indication that they had been approaching. Admiral. His sensor officer's voice was barely a whisper. They were here the entire time. They were watching us. They were cloaked and we never detected them. The human captain's voice returned. This time there was something cold in her tone. Admiral Corax, my reinforcements have arrived. I will ask you one more time. Withdraw your fleet from this system. The Morthani people are under our protection. Any hostile action against them will be considered an act of war against the United Earth Commonwealth. Corax clenched his massive fists. His pride screamed at him to attack. But some survival instinct buried deep in his genetic memory held him back. These humans had technology that should not exist. They had hidden an entire fleet from hegemony sensors. What else could they do? Still, he could not simply retreat. The hegemony did not retreat. The hegemony had never retreated in 18,000 years of conquest. You are bluffing, he said. Your ships may be hidden but they cannot match our firepower. We have weapons that have destroyed worlds. We have experience from 100,000 battles. You are newcomers. You are weak. We are not weak, Captain Vasquez replied. We just did not want to be found until we were ready. Now we are ready. Admiral, I am going to do something that no other species in this galaxy would do. I am going to give you proof of our capabilities without destroying your fleet. Watch carefully. On the main display, Corax watched as the human dreadnought turned slightly. A single weapon port opened on its forward hull. Light gathered there, building in intensity until it was painful to look at even through the display filters. Then the weapon fired. A beam of energy crossed the void in an instant. It did not aim at any hegemony vessel. Instead, it struck a small moon orbiting the system's fourth planet. A worthless chunk of rock approximately 200 kilometers in diameter. The moon exploded. Not cracked. Not damaged. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next moment there was nothing but expanding debris and superheated gas. One shot, Captain Vasquez said. One weapon from one ship. We have 42 ships here, Admiral. Our dreadnought carries 16 of those weapons. Do you really want to test whether your fleet can survive what we bring to this fight? Corax stared at the display. His tactical officer was speaking numbers that made no sense. The energy output of that single weapon exceeded anything in the hegemony arsenal by a factor of 20. The targeting precision was beyond anything they could achieve. The recharge time was already complete. They could fire again whenever they wished. This is impossible, Corax whispered. No species develops this kind of technology. It takes millions of years. It takes countless wars and failures and advancements. You came from nowhere. We came from Earth, Captain Vasquez said. A small blue world in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. 300 years ago, we discovered that the universe was dangerous. We decided to become more dangerous. Admiral, I am not asking you to surrender. I am telling you to leave. Take your fleet. Go back to your masters. Tell them that humanity is no longer hiding. Tell them that the era of conquest is over. Tell them that any species that asks for our protection will receive it. Corax looked around his bridge. He saw fear in the eyes of his officers. He saw the same fear he felt in his own heart. The hegemony had built its power on the belief that strength was the only truth that mattered. But what happened when you met something stronger? If we leave, he said slowly, the hegemony will not accept this insult. There will be war. Then there will be war, Captain Vasquez replied. But it will not be the war you expected. It will not be a war where the strong crush the weak. It will be a war where humanity shows the galaxy what we have become. We did not hide because we were afraid. We hid because we were patient. We hid because we wanted to be ready. Admiral, We are ready now. Corax made his decision. It was the hardest choice of his long life. It went against everything he had been taught, everything he believed. But survival demanded it. All ships, he said. His voice was hollow and defeated. Prepare to withdraw. Set course for hegemony space. Admiral. His tactical officer stared at him in shock. You saw what they did to that moon. Do you want to see what they would do to us? We leave now. We report what we have seen. We let our leaders decide how to respond. The hegemony fleet began to turn. 38 capital ships and their support craft oriented themselves toward open space. One by one, they activated their faster-than-light drives. One by one, they vanished into the void. In less than an hour, the Morthani system was empty of hegemony vessels. On the bridge of the Echoes of Terra, Captain Elena Vasquez let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. Around her, the crew erupted in cheers and embraces. They had done it. They had revealed humanity to the galaxy and faced down one of the greatest powers in existence. Captain, James Okonkwo said with a smile. What do we do now? Elena looked out at the stars. Somewhere below, 3 billion Morthani were waking up to a new dawn. They would never know how close they had come to extinction. They would never know about the ghost ships that had watched over them. Now we introduce ourselves properly, she said. Send a message to the Morthani. Tell them that they have friends in the universe. Tell them that they are not alone. And tell them that humanity would very much like to hear more of their songs. The message was sent. The Morthani responded with joy and wonder. First contact between humans and the children of the endless ocean began with music and laughter and the promise of friendship. But even as Elena celebrated with her crew, she knew that this was only the beginning. The hegemony would return. The divine ascendancy would take notice. The merchant consortium would calculate new equations. The galaxy had changed today. Humanity had stepped into the light. What came next would determine the fate of worlds. In the years that followed, historians would look back on this moment as the turning point. The day when humanity stopped hiding. The day when the galaxy learned that weakness was not the same as youth. The day when a small crew on a small ship decided that someday had finally become today. And the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter. The end.